Hello, you may have seen the title of the video and thought, oh, not this again? What excuse will this guy come up with to deny God's existence? Or perhaps you thought, well duh, of course God doesn't exist. Whatever the reason, you clicked on the video, so let's see if we can tackle the age-old question, does God exist? Theists and atheists have argued about this for centuries. But belief and disbelief in God's existence are not the only two positions. The third option is agnostic. Agnostics don't pass judgment on God's existence either way. Now, I find myself to be moving between both agnostic and atheistic. Earlier, I had a short but interesting conversation on Twitter with Steve McRae, who you all know from the great debate community. In the conversation, we more or less determined what my position is on God or gods existing. As you can see, my default position is agnostic. I don't know. And the reason I have for this is very simple. I actually don't know. I have no concept of God. Zero. Nothing at all. Which some theists find hard to understand. I don't have a concept of God because I'm a lifelong non-believer. I have never been taught about God or gods in any way. I didn't even read the Bible until I was at least 26, and I didn't become an outspoken atheist until I was in my late 30s. Since I don't have any concept of God, I can't determine whether or not any God or gods exist. In that sense, I am an agnostic. However, there is a requirement for this, and that is that God or gods cannot have any properties awarded to them. In fact, my premise is this. When more and more unverifiable properties are awarded to an unverifiable deity, the likelihood of this deity with these properties to exist will approach zero to the nearest degree possible. This doesn't just apply to gods. Let's take unicorns for example. Unicorns may exist, but when you add properties to it, like they are pink, then it is less likely that pink unicorns exist. When you add invisible to the pink unicorn, it becomes even less likely. And claiming that the unicorn is pink, invisible, magical, and universe farting, I would say makes the likelihood of this specific unicorn to exist as close to zero as you can get. So, does the God of the Bible exist? No, in my opinion he doesn't. The Bible, theologists and apologists award unverifiable properties to this specific God, whose existence is also unverifiable, which makes the existence highly unlikely. So, with regards to this specific God, I am an atheist. Some properties of this God contradict each other, and according to the Bible, God behaves in a manner that goes against his nature as it is described. All in all, this leaves the God of the Bible non-existent in a logical sense. Add to this that God also doesn't exist in our natural world, our realm of reality. God is said to not be a tangible natural being, like any being that does exist in our natural world, like the battle unicorn I showed earlier. We determine things to exist by seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, tasting, using, and third-party verification. This applies to everything in our natural world, but it does not apply to God. Now, one could say there is no evidence that God does not exist, and there are plenty of people who hold this position, but is that sensible? Are you then seriously suggesting that this applies to everything that cannot be proven to exist? Pixies, leprechauns, and mythical creatures alike? Or are you special pleading and only applying this reasoning to God? With regards to gods in general, I live my life according to this. Do gods exist? I don't know. Do gods influence my life? Not that I can distinguish. Do gods provide any added quality to my life? No. Can I live my life as if there are no gods? Yes. So, in my everyday life, even when I hold the default position that I don't know if gods exist, I can and do also hold the position that gods don't exist as they do not influence my life.